So right here, you can see the where all of those little posts are, all the
Okay.
little piers. This is on a
Mhm.
crawl space. So every so often, there's one of those beams of concrete coming up out of the ground, which you saw over here, right? There's some of
Mhm.
these. And then the outside wall is concrete that's 4 foot tall, which is what this is right here. And so these little rounded beams are these right here, okay? And then on top of those beams, or on top of those, pillars, you've got these beams. And if I go back to this image, the beam is like this part right here,
Mhm.
okay? So that's kind of how that works. And then you've got a basement is going to be very similar, or as Steve Currington says, it's similar, but not specifically the same. He likes to misuse words on purpose. So this is kind of your basement cross section of what the foundation wall looks like. The difference is it's taller than the crawl space, right? Now you're 8 foot. And on top of that sand I showed you on the crawl space, they pour the concrete slab of the floor in the basement. Then you've got a concrete wall going straight up. You've got your rebar that ties your footing in. The difference is they put this, oh gosh, what do they call that? My brain just went blank. It's like a keyhole, but that's not the word. Anyways, they put this little notch in your footing that your wall sits and notches into down there. And then the wall is like 8 foot tall, and your rebar goes way up into that wall. And then you still have the anchor bolt on top of the basement wall. And I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see this better.
Mhm.
You still
I
have that
see.
anchor bolt that ties into now, and this time, it's a mud sill, and there's something called a foam sill sealer that goes on top of the concrete, and then that mud sill goes on top of that, which is what all your framing of your first floor of the home ties into. And that foam sill sealer which is really hard to say if you have a lisp, foam shell sealer. It would be very hard to say foam shell sealer if you had a little bit of a lisp. But that is like literally a little piece of foam that sits on top of that concrete wall. And the reason is your concrete foundation wall is going to go through the seasons, and it's going to be hot and it's going to be cold, and
Mhm.
it is butting right up against the part of your home that is heated and kept a constant temperature. So what happens is it's just like a can of Coke on a hot summer day, creates condensation on the outside of it. There's going to be condensation on the top of that concrete wall. And so the foam sill sealer is going to keep you from having that condensation seep into that lumber and
Mhm.
rot the lumber. So, and also I will point out this word treated right here, treated mud sill. See how it's kind of green? Lumber that is green instead of kind of that yellowish pine color. The green lumber is actually treated lumber, which is made to resist moisture anyways. So you kind of have like a double whammy there of the foam sill sealer with the treated mud sill. Hey, Jordan, Allison is calling me. Do you want to go call her or see what she needs? Um, so does this make sense to you?
Oh, yes,
Did
it
this help
does.
answer that question for
A
you?
lot. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody have any other questions about anything? I asked, just to catch you up, Ashley, I asked the guys if they had anything that they were unsure of or didn't really understand how it worked. And so that was something that she was mentioning, was a little bit of understanding what is underneath the carpet in the house. And so there's nothing to like give cushioning. Now, for the if there is carpet, there's actually pad underneath the carpet. So Brady, you might know. I can't remember if you guys have 6 pound pad or 8 pound pad underneath your carpeting.
think it's 8 pound pad.
Okay. I think it is too. So there are different weights of pad. It'll be in your included features sheet, Natalia, if you look there, but I'm pretty sure it's listed there. But so that is what gives the cushion underneath the carpeting. So that's kind of what provides for that. So your 3/4 inch tongue and groove OSB subfloor, which is the plywood basically that's underneath all of that flooring. So you have the plywood, then on top of the plywood is the pad, which I think is 8-pound pad, and then on top of that is the carpeting. So when you're stepping on it, that's what gives that cushiness to it.
And the subfloor, what brand is it? Isn't it um
I don't know if you guys are always branded. It'll say on your included feature sheet if you are using a specific brand. I
well
can't recall.
the reason I ask is I remember I had one client, and this is one out of I've never had anybody say this. They did not want the subfloor that we used, even though it was the like the moisture blocking best subfloor you can use. They didn't want it for some reason. And I was like, why? And they could never give me an explanation why. But I mean, I spent a week showing them the differences between why that's the best you can use, how that's going to support you know, your home better, the moisture under all of it. And they were like just against it. They wanted straight poly subfloor. And I was like, that's not standard, and that's not going to help you.
Yep, you have 6-pound carpet pad, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's
I
what I
just
was
looked
just
it
gonna
up.
say.
Yeah. So, and then it doesn't tell me what kind of subfloor you use. So I know that you guys are using the moisture resistant type, but I don't, it's not a brand. And the reason you don't use a brand is they're all basically made the same. There's no better or worse. There's no like massively upgraded one. So the guy who's like making a big deal out of it, here's a new home sales training tip slash point on what to think about with this. It's like when the customer's like, hey, your subflooring material, I want you to use Weyerhaeuser because they're a better brand than Georgia Pacific. And the guy who's kind of nerding out over that, probably an engineer for one. And secondly, he's not going to ever be there long enough for it to matter at all. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. He will never live there long enough for it to matter. In 75 years from now, it might be an issue. If it is, probably won't be. So, but guys, like some people will, I would do exactly what you did, Brady. It's like, okay, well, what's your concern about it? What's the thing that's got you worried about it? Like, what are you concerned is going to happen that isn't going to happen if we used the other brand? And
I
then
even
it's
went as
like,
far as I even asked them, I said, have you guys seen a home in the last 15 years that hasn't used that? And
exactly.
the lady was like, well, no. I'm like, there's a reason. Like, there's a reason we're using it. Every builder in town uses it. We use it. I mean, there's a reason for it. So it was just an oddball thing. I don't know what their deal was, but
Yeah, every once in a while you get the buyer who is just they'll be really specific about one thing in the home that's kind of their hot button. And it might be like, do you guys use low E or low E2 windows? Because there is a slight difference between them. And it's like, are your windows double pane with argon gas in between them? Because I'm really concerned about argon gas. I'm kind of a gassy person and I need argon for my gas.
Dang you, Carl.
Right? It's always a guy named Carl that does this. But it's like, they come in and they're worried about the argon gas in the window pane. So it's like, okay, well, what's your concern? That's my question for them. What's your concern about low E versus low E2? And then, it's like, well, it's just not as energy efficient. What do you surmise is going to be your total annual cost difference on heating and cooling your home using low E versus low E2 windows? It's like reduce it to the ridiculous when they start going down that path because the difference is going to be like $5. It's going to be so insignificant between low E and low E2 windows, for example. I'm just giving you an example. I've had window nerds come in a lot of times. Usually window nerds are in the north part of the country. You'll find them in Indiana and Michigan and
Fantastic. I love that so much for me.
yeah. And then when you're in the south, they care about things like a lot of times they'll be, I think their major concern is going to be like, can you put a kegerator in my garage? That's what the South cares about. Can I have a keg with a kegerator with a tap on the door in the garage? That is what I'm really shooting for. Brady, I didn't even get a minor chuckle out of you on that one. I thought that was actually pretty good.
So we have
Sorry,
a north.
I was responding to somebody. My bad.
No problem.